Today we are going to review how to graph a linear equation. This is very easy. If you give me 5 minutes of your focus and attention, you will know how to do it in the end of 5 minutes, I promise. I promise. If you focus and watch for 5 minutes and try them when I tell you to, you will know how to do it by the end of this period. Okay? So watch. This is in the form y equals mx plus b. That is the equation of a line. It is also known as slope-intercept form. The reason we call it slope-intercept form is because within it you can find a slope and a y-intercept. Slope is represented by the letter m. So what is our slope in this problem? What is in the m place? Not x, just the -2 is in the m place, right? X is in the x place. What is in the what is in the y-intercept place? -3. Now, what do we sometimes also call slope? Rise over run. And isn't rise over run a fraction? Well, right now, our slope is not in fraction form, is it? How can we easily make -2 a fraction? Put it over a 1. Now we have a rise and a run. You're not giving me your time. Rise is either up or down. Okay? Run is either left or right. Okay? And remember that because we rise up or, down. We don't really say rise down. But we run left or right. Can you run up or down? No, you cannot. No. Okay? So, when we look at the rise of -2, we know rise is either up or down. So what do you think a -2 means? Down. Okay, when we look at our run, and it's a +1 in the run place, do you think that means right or left? Right. Okay, so up and right go with positive. If your number is positive, you'll go up or right. If your number is negative, you'll go down or left, depending on where it is in the fraction. Okay? So now that we have pulled out the slope and the y-intercept from this line, now all we have to do is put it on the graph. You start by plotting the y-intercept, which is -3. So since it's called a y-intercept, it goes on the y-axis. So we go to the y-axis, -3, and we plot our starting point. Okay, so we've done the big. We plotted our starting point. You always do it first. Then from there, the slope gives you directions to the next point, and the slope tells you to go down 2, right 1. Now, can I continue going down 2, right 1? No, because I would run off the graph, right? Well, I can do the opposite. Instead of going down 2, right 1, I could just go up 2, left 1, and isn't that point still in line with those? So to keep doing that, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1. Now, the reason I'm able to do that is because look down here. Okay, so right now, a rise of -2 means down 2. A run of +1 means right 1. So say I decide that I'm going to move that negative sign to the 1. Is -2 over 1 the same thing as 2 over -1? Yes, they're both just a -2, right? But now look what it says. Doesn't it now say up to left 1? They're the same thing. That's why you're able to do either way. You just have to do the opposite. Now that you have points, you can connect them with a line. And then you are done. Now, why is it that my line is going down from left to right? Because my slope was a negative number. Okay, now let's look at number 2. We have the equation in y equals mx plus b form. So what is the slope? What is in the m place? 1/5. That's already a fraction. We've already got a rise over run. A rise of 1 tells us what direction? Up 1, right. And then a run of 5 tells us what direction? Right 5. Because remember, positives mean up and right. If it's in the top, it's up. If it's in the bottom, it's right. Okay, now we have to identify our y-intercept, which is 2. We always start by plotting the y-intercept, and of course, it would go on the y-axis. So on the y-axis, we go up 2 and plot a point. So we're done with that. We plotted our starting point at 2. Now, where did the directions tell you to go? Up 1, right 5. Now, could I do that again? Could I go up 1, right 5 again and stay on the graph? No. So if I want another point over here, what can I do instead? Right, the exact opposite. Down 1, left 5. Okay, let's talk about why you can do that. Okay, look. So right now our slope is 1/5, and that meant go up 1 and right 5, correct? Well, if I change it to this, no, we don't do the reciprocal. We just make them both negative. Doesn't that now mean down 1, left 5? And isn't that what we did? We went down 1, left 5. Is 1/5 the same thing as -1 over -5? Why? 2 negatives divided is positive, so it's still the same thing. That's why you're able to do that. You just do the exact opposite, and you're still sitting on the same line. Now, why is this line going up from left to right? Because it's positive slope. The slope is a positive number. Okay, let's talk about one other thing. Which line is steeper? Number 1's line or number 2's line? Number 1 is way steeper, right? Yes, steeper. That's because its slope is a 2. Now, I'm well aware that its slope is -2. But in this case, doesn't the negative just cause it to go down? The 2 determines how steep it is, right? Because we had to go down 2 over 1. What is the slope over here? 1/5, which is like 0.2. Isn't that a way bigger number than 0.2? The bigger number your slope is, the steeper the line. Okay? So what kind of slope would it take to get this line to go all the way flat with no steepness? 0. A 0 slope would cause a horizontal line because it has no steepness. So just remember, like right now my arm's horizontal, correct? It has 0 steepness, 0 slope. If I go up just a little, like 0.2, it gets a little bit steeper. Then if I went to 1, it would get a little bit steeper. If I go to a slope of 2, it gets steeper. The bigger the number, the steeper the line. Okay? Okay, number 3. Y equals -5x plus 5. Okay, so what is my slope this time? -5. Is that a fraction? No, so like right now we know the rise is -5, but what's the run? +1. I'm not sure why, but sometimes students think they need to put a -1 down here because the top was negative. But if I put a -1, won't that cause the whole thing to become +5? Correct. You need to keep it a +1 so the thing is still a -5 like it was to begin with. Okay, what does that -5 cause me to do direction-wise? Down 5. And what does that +1 cause me to do? Right 1. Okay, what's your y-intercept? 5. Okay, so when I get ready to graph it, what do I do first? Well, it's a +5. Put it on +5 and plot your starting point, your y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis. Now, it now tells us to go down 5, right 1. And I can do that again. Down 5, right 1. And then you connect them with a line, and then you have graphed the line. Okay, number 4. Take a second and try that one by yourself before I go over. For y equals 5x plus 2, what is the m, the slope? 5 over 1. Okay, it was really just 5, but we need a rise over run, so you always fill it with a +1 when you're missing the run. The 5 means we're going to go what? Up 5. Okay, because the top number tells you to either go up or down, and since it's positive, you go up. The bottom number tells you left or right. Which one is it? Right, because it's positive. What is the y-intercept? 2. Okay, so when you start to graph it, what do you take care of first? The y-intercept. Since it's b equals positive 2, you go to the y-axis and put a point on positive 2. Now you're supposed to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 1, but won't that be off the graph? So instead, what can we do? Right, and think about it. When I go left 1, doesn't that still line up with the other one? If I had accidentally gone right 1, would that have lined up with this one and this one? No. Okay, that's why it's good to try to make 3 points so you can make sure they're all in a line. Okay, now, I want you to compare the line in number 3 and the line in number 4. What do you notice about these two lines? Correct. They look the same steepness, right? It's just one's going down, one's going up. That's because one of them has a slope of -5 and one of them has a slope of +5. The 5 determines the steepness. The negative just made this one go down instead of up, but they're the same steepness because they both have a slope of 5. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's continue. Number 5. What is the slope? Guys, what's the slope of number 5? Okay, let's talk about this because this is something else different. Currently, the negative is out to the side, like kind of to the middle. So who does the negative belong to? Okay, so if I decide that I'm going to give the negative to both of them, what's the negative over negative? Positive. Is our slope positive? No. How can you take one negative sign and then miraculously give it to both things? No, it really just belongs to the fraction, but you have to, when you're doing this, give it to one or the other. It doesn't matter. So we could give it to the 5. It wouldn't matter if you given it to the 3. Well, you'll see why in a minute. 3 would have been the better choice, but we don't know that till we start graphing it. You can give it to either. The reason I normally give a negative to the numerator of a fraction is because on some calculators, when you type in a negative number in the fraction, it gives an error on some of them. So I always stick the negative to the numerator. Okay? What does -5 mean I'm going to go direction-wise? Down 5. What does +3 mean? Right 3. What's the y-intercept? Okay, so what do I take care of first? Right, I plot -3 on the y-axis. But then look, since I stuck the negative on the 5, I'm now supposed to go down 5 right 3, but that runs off the graph. So instead, I need to go, correct? Which is why it probably would have been better to stick the negative on the 3, because isn't that what I just did? Up 5, left 3. But you don't know that until you start graphing it, so you just have to be prepared to do the opposite if necessary. We'll get there. I'm not going to answer questions about things I'm not on. Go ahead and try number 6 by yourself. Starting. What's the slope of this line? 1/3. What does the 1 mean I'm going to do? Up 1. What does the 3 mean I'm going to do? Back on. What is the y-intercept? -2. Shh. What do I do first? Plot the y-intercept to -2. And then what do I do? That's correct. And then I could go up 1, right 3 again. Or if I wanted a point in quadrant 3, I could go down 1, left 3. And I even have room to do it one more time. Right now, really all that's necessary is 2 points. However, we will move into things where you're going to need to plot as many points as possible. So it's just a good habit to practice plotting all the points you can. Okay, number 7. What is the slope? 2/1. That means I'm going to go what 2? And how many 1s? Right 1. What's the y-intercept? -3. So where do I start? Right, and then I go up 2, right 1. And then I could continue doing that. I have plenty of room. Or I could go left 1. You can either go up to right 1, or if you want to go backwards, you can go down to left 1, the exact opposite. Because think about it. If that's up to right 1, isn't down to left 1 like that? And aren't those equivalent? Because a negative over negative is just a positive. Okay, try number 8. Number 9. What's the slope? Negative 5 over what? Positive 3. Guys, the negative, there's only one negative. It can only go with one. If you put it with both, doesn't the whole thing become positive? And the whole thing is not positive. It's negative. What does that negative 5 mean? Down 5. And what does the positive 3 mean? Okay, what's the y-intercept? Plus, right. So what do I do? Correct. And then I don't think you can fit either way, so you're done with that one. Okay, let's look at number 10 and then we'll be done. And we'll continue these on Monday. Alright, let's see how smart you are.
Isn't it that word?
What is the slope?
It's the word. No, it's a big word. It starts with a U, doesn't it?
No, you're thinking of something else. What? Zero.
I just said that.
I know, but you didn't raise your hand. Listen, listen. The slope is 0 because think about it. If I wrote this, y equals 0x minus 2, isn't that the same thing? Since it was 0x, I'm not done. Stop packing up. Since it was 0x, they just chose not to write it, and the b got scooted over in the place of it. So the b is negative 2. Now, we still need to make that a fraction, so put it over 1. We start at negative 2, but then aren't you going to go up 0, right 1, up 0, right 1, up 0, right 1? It's a horizontal line. Guys, they're all straight lines. This is a horizontal line. That is a slope of 0. Vertical lines are slope undefined.
That's what I was